So Richard says sellers might send to Amazon a shipment that can cost $5,000, for example. Do sellers need to insure the shipment to protect his or her investment? If so, what is a good reputable insurance company for this purpose? If you have your receipt, would Amazon reimburse you your full investment? What steps to take if Amazon misplaces part of the shipment? Thanks again, the Q&A is helping me a lot. So great question, Richard. It really depends twofold, right? If you're ordering a shipment or you're doing a shipment into Amazon that's, $5,000, it's probably most likely a wholesale shipment, which is what I'm guessing. And then in that aspect, you're probably ordering from a wholesale company who's doing all the packaging or all the packing of the items, all the labeling of the items, the lot manifest and all that good stuff as well, and then shipping into FBA for you, right? So in that aspect, you're very rarely going to, because they packaged it, up to FBA standards and they're used to doing that, because they have a lot manifest and because everything in there has an itemized invoice with it that they're sending and matches the weight exactly, you're rarely going to run into that issue, at least in my experience, with a wholesale company when you're ordering in bulk, okay? Usually, in my experience, when people run into an issue where Amazon receives less items than they send in, supposedly, it's when you're doing the shipping into FBA yourself, right? It's when you're throwing a bunch of different various items into a box, and then, you might have 3 of one SKU, 5 of another SKU, 10 of another SKU, or maybe you even have like multiple boxes in your Amazon shipment and you ship them all in, and they're various items in different, SKUs and different amounts of those SKUs, right? So in that situation, what I would recommend that you do is, you want to label everything, okay? Label everything. I don't care if it doesn't prompt you to label it. Say that you're going to relabel it yourself and put the Amazon barcode on it, then print out all the barcodes when you're shipping into FBA and you're going through that process. That will pretty much ensure that they scan everything in properly. A lot of times is when, not only are you shipping when people run into this issue, is when you're shipping items yourself into FBA and then you label some and you have Amazon label the other ones, or you label some and then you have, you leave the other ones as like the merchant barcode because you're not prompted to label them, right? So I would say first and foremost, label everything, okay? Secondly, take pictures of everything, and just keep them in like a folder on your iPhone. Now, I don't do this because I haven't ran into this issue a lot recently, especially as I've been moving more into wholesale, and a lot of my items are coming from wholesale companies or even ordering liquidation into Amazon sometimes. So I rarely see this issue. I used to see it a lot more when I did coupon products, when I'd send like 50 to like 100 items in like a couple boxes, and they were all different SKUs and different, amounts of those SKUs. So in that aspect, you're gonna see a little bit of discrepancy. So if you're doing that, which I don't think that you are, it sounds more like you're moving into like something like wholesale because you're saying $5,000. So, you're probably doing something more scalable like that. I would say take pictures of everything, right? So make sure that you label it with all the Amazon barcodes. Take pictures of everything in that box, and take pictures of the box on the scale weighing the amount that it does, right? And then if you're shipping it in right, you shouldn't really face that issue. Now, if you do face that issue and maybe you send in like 60 items and they've said that they received like 57 of them, right? And they're missing 3, then there is a way that you can do that. I forget, I think I'm pretty sure there's one in the course. Let me make sure. I know I've done multiple ones of this because obviously it updates frequently, like how you actually go about in the back end of Seller Central for claiming those items. It's the same process overall, it just switches a little bit differently when they update Seller Central. I made like 3 versions of that video, but let me check to make sure that that video is actually in the course, and then I'll point you in the direction that it is. So let me find it really fast. But that's what I'd obviously recommend that you do, right? I would just recommend that you claim, if for whatever reason they miss some of your shipments, then claim those items in that shipment that you ship them in, send the pictures for proof, and bam, they should reimburse you. Now, they might not reimburse you for what you thought that you could sell it for, but they will reimburse you for the retail value or whatever the buy box price or whatever they deem that you could sell it for, right? So you won't lose money on those. Let me find it really fast. It's probably in the Amazon tips module, and there is how Amazon shares the buy box. It doesn't look like I have it in here, so It doesn't look like I have it in here. So what I'm gonna do when I actually post this in the course Q&A, I'll drop that video in a comment directly below this for you. I know I've done a video on it on YouTube. I've done several of them. I'll find one. I'll link that video directly in the comments below for you. Check that out. But like I said, the easiest way is either order it from a wholesale company who's gonna have an itemized list of everything that they send in anyway, and you're rarely gonna find that an issue with that. And if you do, obviously, then you can take it up with a wholesale company specifically, and the wholesale companies can send all their proof and data to Amazon. You won't really have an issue there, right? The second thing, like I said, to recap, is if you are shipping it yourself, make sure you label it, make sure you take pictures of everything, label everything, right? Take pictures of everything, make sure that you also take pictures of the box weight, and you shouldn't really face many issues with that as well if you're labeling everything. Although if you do, check the video directly below. That will allow you to claim in the back end of your Seller Central all your missing items, and then Amazon will reimburse you for them. They usually reimburse you 90 to 95% of the time, especially if it's not something that you're doing a lot, right? If you're sending in shipments and they're always missing an item here or there, then probably it's the way that you're sending the shipments in or something that you're doing. But if you send, a bunch of shipments in and they only miss an item here or there every once in a while, then you can claim in the back end of Seller Central, and they're gonna see your history of it, and they're not really gonna think twice about reimbursing you, for those missed items, if it's not like a pattern, okay? So good question.